It is 90 days till the man burns, and today we're talking about bringing a high maintenance partner. Because wow, if you're planning to bring your high maintenance partner, you must really want them to come, or they must really want to come. If you've been doing any looking around at how high maintenance people fare at Burning Man, you may be a little bit concerned because it's kind of not the best combination. It's a bit like steak with strawberry ice cream sauce on it. It just doesn't really go together. But there are things you can do to make it not end up being a super dramatic situation. There are things you can do to make your high maintenance partner a bit happier. But it is risky. You know, if you have looked at anything, you have probably seen people just say, like, don't do it. Don't bring someone high maintenance. It's gonna ruin Burning Man for you. It's just gonna be really hard work. So now that I've tried to terrify you out of it, here are some tips on what to do. So the first thing to do is kind of figure out why they want to go in the first place. And usually it's for one of three reasons. They want to go themselves, you want them to go, or they don't trust you to go without them. And if the answer is number one, they want to go themselves, you're probably in luck and things are going to be a lot easier for you. If you are dragging them along, it's going to be a bit harder because they might not actually really want to go. So they might be going into it with a bit of a negative view of it. And if they don't want you to go alone and that's why they're coming, I mean, yeah, that one's going to be tough. So let's start with number two. You are essentially dragging them along. And I get it. I love Burning Man. I want to share it with people in my life. I want them to experience it. But I'm very aware of the people in my life and who would actually enjoy an experience like that and who wouldn't. So it's worth spending some time thinking about, why do you want your partner to come along so much? Like, if it is just that, you really want to share the experience with them, maybe let them stay behind because maybe it's just an experience they don't want to have. Like, imagine if they were really into, like, death metal rock music and you weren't, you like, opera or pop music, and they want you to come to an event that is like 10 days of death metal all the time. Probably not going to want to go. Like, you might agree to go because it's your partner and you love them and they want you to go, but you probably don't actually want to go. You're probably not going to enjoy your time there. So really kind of think about whether you should drag them along or whether it's just going to make things a bit miserable for them or for both of you. If they want to go themselves, hurrah, then it is worth explaining to them the realities, because many people don't really realize what Burning Man is. They think it's kind of like Coachella or some other music festival, and they don't realize what it really is, what they're letting themselves in for. So having a chat with them about that kind of stuff, especially bringing up anything that you feel is going to be an issue for them. If you feel like the dust will be an issue or the lack of showers, let them know about those things so that they are really well informed and they can make a decision for themselves about whether they really want to come. There are no passengers when it comes to Burning Man, and that should apply to your high maintenance partner too. If you've been to Burning Man before and you kind of want to show them how wonderful it is, there can be this temptation to do everything for them, to try and almost plan the perfect Burning Man experience with them in mind. And often that means you're doing all the planning, they're just doing nothing. They're waiting to just be ferried to Burning Man like a princess, to have everything set up, or a prince, and, ferried home again. And I would say that's a huge mistake. You really want them to be involved in the preparation process. It's going to give them more of an idea of what they're getting themselves into, of all of the kind of hard work and preparation that is going into it, and of all those special little extra things that are occurring so that they can come and be comfortable. There can just be a tendency to focus so much on their needs and making sure that everything is great for them that you kind of neglect yourself a bit. And if they're involved in the process, they're going to be able to identify things that they think will be a problem or come up with solutions to things that they might be a problem themselves. So even if you feel like your partner isn't up to all the jobs, because, a lot of people aren't up to everything, like maybe you want to build an evaporation system or you want to get a shade structure and your partner just doesn't have that knowledge and someone else does. But still, find ways that they can participate too. Give them responsibilities during the prep process, even if it's just something like, okay, you are responsible for costumes or planning the meals, things like that. Get them involved in everything. Figure out exactly what it is that they need. What are the things that are just going to set them off, or what are the things that are just going to make them complain constantly? If you can identify those things, you can prepare for them, hopefully. And again, this is something that you should be doing with your partner. You shouldn't be like following them around like a spy, trying to figure out, are they going to survive without a shower? They probably know their needs. They probably know the things that are going to be an issue and are going to stress them out. So figure out exactly what those things are, figure out solutions to them, and if there's some things there's no solutions, or there's a part-way solution but that's it, then at least they're aware of that and they can decide whether they want to compromise or not compromise. Chances are you are going to have to up your game a bit, especially when it comes to your camp, especially if you're a caveman style camper, because chances are they're going to want a nicer camp, they're going to want a few more home comforts, they're going to want things to just be a little bit nicer than maybe you would have it. And again, it should be something that you're doing with them, discussing with them, like this is the current camp setup, this is what we have, what else could we have in the camp that's gonna make it more comfortable for you? Maybe chairs instead of sitting on the floor, maybe a nicer shade structure, maybe you need to put some work into your tent to make sure that it's demeshed and it's not just getting full of dust all the time. And again, don't guess. Your partner probably knows these things already, and simply asking them, showing them your camp layout, all the gear you have, is probably going to be enough for them to get an idea whether or not they're going to be okay with it. It's a good idea to bring along a spare tent. Some people say this is in case things go terribly wrong, so that you have somewhere to get away from your partner. But really, it's a good idea to have one so that you can put all of your supplies in it. So for a lot of people, you bring one tent, you just sleep in amongst all of your stuff, and it's the way it is. But your partner may want something a bit nicer. They may want, one tent where it's just like, this is where we're going to sleep, and another tent okay, this is where all the costumes and supplies and everything else are going to go, so that you are not kind of sleeping amongst all of that stuff. Doing that also makes dust control in your sleeping area a bit easier, because you're not needing to constantly open and close your tent to get things. Things aren't, being brought out, getting dusty and put back in, because that's all going on in a separate tent. And obviously, if things go horribly wrong, you can sleep in your supply tent with all your stuff. Burning Man does have a way of kind of destroying a lot of the things that you bring. And it's definitely worth letting your partner know that, as well as giving them advice on appropriate attire and stuff. Those high heels they love, Burning Man probably isn't the best place for them. But make sure they're not bringing stuff along that they are going to be really upset about if it gets ruined or broken or destroyed. You don't want to have to spend a week listening to how your partner's dress got ripped and it was a super special dress, one of a kind, or something crazy like that. Or their limited edition lipstick, it melted because it was so hot and they can't get another one, or anything like that. Make them aware. The only stuff you should be bringing with you is stuff that you don't really care if it breaks or gets ruined. That way, if there are things that they kind of want to bring with them, they're able to find alternative versions if they're feeling a bit precious about that specific thing. One of the big issues with high maintenance people at Burning Man is they tend to complain quite a lot about things that you don't really care about that much, or that you're really aware of. Okay, everyone complains about dust at Burning Man, but when you have someone that is doing it constantly, it gets irritating, because you're I know, I'm in the same place as you, and I see the dust and I feel the dust, and the exact same thing is happening to me, so I don't need you to keep telling me that it's happening. I'm really, really aware of it myself. So there's kind of a couple of options, and it obviously depends on your partner and what kind of personality they have. But have a chat with them before about complaining, and how, complaining isn't off limits, but there's levels of complaining that you consider acceptable and levels that just aren't. Because, the negativity, it can get old really, really fast and can kind of bring you down a bit. You could also implement some kind of rule. So there's the 3 strikes rule, where they're allowed to complain about something 3 times, and then that's it. If they mention that thing again, you are allowed to just be no, you've had 3 strikes, I already know about this thing, I don't want to hear it again. Or there's the complainer jar, which is kind of similar to a swear jar, but for excessive negativity, whining, or complaining. And obviously there's no money, and so the complainer jar is for tasks. If they complain or are negative or whiny too much, they get given a task that would not have been their task. You know, they are then tasked with, they have to go and get the ice, they have to do the dishes, or they have to prepare dinner. And that is a really good way to get people to not complain, because they're kind of getting punished for doing it, and it makes them not do it so much. I just want to say, be sparing with that kind of stuff though, because you don't want to jump on your partner every single time they complain about something. You know, sometimes they might have a valid reason why they're complaining. They might be upset about something. They may need to just vent. I'm talking about excessiveness, when it gets to the point where you're just like, oh, I just can't hear this anymore. I literally do not care that, you know, your dress ripped 3 days ago. I'm like so tired of hearing it. You know, it's not for things when they're like, it's so hot, or it's so dusty. Like, it's kind of not the same thing. Levels, guys, levels. It is a really nice idea to bring some kind of treats along for your partner, because it probably is going to be more difficult for them and they are going to have a harder time. So having some things that you can like cheer them up with is going to be great if they're having, you know, a bit of a hard time, or they're feeling a bit down one day. To be able to like pull out their favorite drink or favorite snack or some kind of thing that they're gonna miss while they're there. It can really brighten their day, and it doesn't have to be a physical thing. You know, offer to give them a foot massage or something. Do something nice for them. You know, maybe a little mani-pedi, hand rubby type thing. Spritzing them with cold water when they're hot, making sure that, you know, their favorite drink has been cooled down in the cooler instead of, you know, just getting warm on the side. There's loads of kind of small things you can do for your partner that just show that, you know, you care and you were thinking of them, and you're kind of aware that Burning Man is a bit more difficult for them. You know, just small things you can do to just brighten their day a bit and make them feel a little bit more special and like you are thinking of them. I did another video on relationship survival. There's lots of tips in there, things like, you know, maybe having picnics and kind of having little treats or things that you do together that are just kind of nice and special for you both. So that's a great video to watch as well for some tips like that. But another thing you want to watch out for is like crowding your partner. Like I said earlier, when you're bringing your partner along and you really want to kind of show them Burning Man, there can be this tendency for your like focus to be on them. But you know, it's Burning Man. Let them do their own thing too. They might want to go and just cycle around and look at art, or maybe they want to go and do a workshop that you're just not into. You know, let them do their own thing as well. Like, they're not a child. They don't need you to like accompany them all of the time. And likewise, you should be able to do your own thing as well when you want to. It's kind of not a good idea for couples to be together 24/7 at Burning Man. You should both have like some freedom and some alone time, and, you know, not feel like you need to be stuck together constantly. And that can become an issue because maybe your partner does feel like you should be like that all the time, especially if, you know, you kind of drag them along and they weren't that into it. They might feel like you're kind of their tour guide almost for Burning Man. So it's another thing that you really want to talk about beforehand, making sure that they are aware that, you know, that's not the situation. You are not going to be spending 24 hours a day, and it's not going to be kind of all about them and what they want to do. Like, you know, you're both individual people and you will probably want to do different things sometimes. If you don't discuss it beforehand, you could end up feeling a bit obligated to be a tour guide, or to, you know, live by their schedule and do the things that they want to do all the time because you don't want, you know, stress or drama or anything like that. So get all that out of the way before you even hit Burning Man. If things do start to go downhill, then, you know, hopefully you bought that spare tent to sleep in. But it might be an idea to just separate for a few hours, you know, Burning Man cure, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you've eaten, make sure you have both had enough sleep, find some shade to chill in, and yeah, separate for a few hours or for the rest of the day. If you're just turning it into a pair of like snappy, fighty people. And if you separate for a few hours, it will give you a chance to just, you know, calm down, and hopefully when you meet back up, you will be able to kind of discuss things in a calmer, more relaxed manner, or maybe you'll just both be feeling a bit better having that time away from each other, and you can kind of move forward from there. If you're camping with other people, you will want to consider the rest of your campmates as well and kind of how this situation affects them, especially if things have gone really downhill and you are kind of sniping at each other and it's just creating tension within your camp. If you are at a point where you are sniping at each other and you just kind of need to have it out and clear the air, head out to the deep play. You know, that stuff is not the kind of stuff you want to do in the middle of your camp with all of your campmates around. It's just causing drama for everyone. So head out to the deep player, have your showdown, and, you know, come back when things are calmer and everything's okay. And don't try and drag your campmates into it. You know, they probably don't want to be involved in any drama or tension that's going on. If you are sniping at each other, if things are getting very tense in camp, be aware that, you know, your campmates are having to deal with that. They're having to put up with all this awkwardness and tension, which is probably not fun for them. They're probably going to end up spending half of Burning Man just trying to avoid being in camp so that they don't have to be around it. Keep in mind when you are planning, if you are camping with a group, because there may be some decisions that really affect them. You know, if your partner's like, I have to have a shower, we have to have a camp shower so that I can shower every single day, that's going to affect the whole camp. That could affect your budget if you don't already have a setup for that. It could affect how much water you need to bring. You know, if your partner is a super organized person and they're like, we need meal plans and the camp has to be like kept clean and tidy all the time, and again, that's going to affect your campmates. They may not be 100% on board with that, especially if the way you've done Burning Man in the past, if this isn't your first time, is radically different to what you're proposing. If the way you are planning to camp because your partner is coming along is incredibly different and your group, your campmates are not on board with it, it might be worth just camping, just you and your partner, and being like next to your friend's camp so you can still hang out and stuff together. But technically it's their camp, and so they can camp how they want, you can camp how you want, and it's not like affecting each other. But you can still, you know, have fun together and stuff. It is kind of difficult though, because obviously if you normally go with a group, you probably have like group shade structure, group cooking stuff, so it can be a bit difficult. But if your campmates really aren't on board with it, you're going to have to come up with some kind of solution. Be careful of creating resentment towards your partner as well. If you decide to do a load of stuff for them, if you decide, you know, you're going to prepare everything, you're not going to have them do anything, you're going to be almost their tour guide, and then you find them complaining, it can be very frustrating because you're like, wow, I put so much effort into making this like to this level for you and you just don't appreciate it at all. But if they weren't involved in the preparation, they probably don't understand how much effort you put in. And possibly they never asked you to do any of the stuff that you did. They just kind of weren't aware that it needed doing. So if you're like pouring all your time and energy and focus into making it amazing for your partner, that can create resentment because then you can feel frustrated if they don't seem to appreciate it as much as you would like them to. Because to be honest, if I had put a ton of effort into making camp and making Burning Man a certain way for someone and all they did was complain, I would probably get frustrated by it too. That's why it is a good idea to have them involved in the whole planning stage. Because then you're going to feel like they're like contributing, they're pulling their weight, they're a participant in this. It's not you doing everything for them, and they're going to understand how much work and effort is actually involved in it and hopefully be a little bit more appreciative about everything. I think one of the most important things is to think of your own burn, and it's kind of a funny concept at Burning Man because it's like such a selfish thing to be like, I want to have a good burn, regardless of anything else that's going on. Like, it's about my burn and me having fun and me having adventures. It's just strange because it's kind of a selfish thing, and when you look at the principles and stuff, it's very unselfish, but then there is this kind of thing to live by of like, think of your own burn. But regardless, you know, think of your own burn. Don't get so caught up in your partner's wants and needs and making them happy that you forget about yourself. Don't end up in a situation where you are babysitting them and not enjoying yourself. As much as you want them to have fun, you want to have fun yourself. You don't want to end up sitting in Exodus and realize that, you know, you just spent your whole time there trying to make sure that your partner was happy and you didn't actually really do anything that you wanted to do, or you didn't have the burn you wanted to have because your attention was just all the way on them. If things get really bad, like you feel like you're kind of hitting that point where you might actually break up, then it might be worth, completely separating and going and camping separately, which obviously can be a bit complicated because, one of you is going to have to find a new spot to camp in. And if you came as a couple or as part of a group, you may not kind of have the supplies and resources to realistically make that happen. But sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes things have just got so bad, there's so much drama, you just feel like you're going to have a row at any second. And at that point, it might be worth discussing camping separately for the rest of Burning Man, or, maybe camping separately and just meeting up occasionally or the next day and talking, just getting that distance between you. Personally, I wouldn't bring a high maintenance person to Burning Man with me. I just think there's so many potential problems with it. There's so many considerations you need to make, so many things that you potentially need to change about the way that you do Burning Man, that bringing along someone high maintenance, if you feel like they're not going to enjoy it anyway, then kind of why bring them? But I do wish you guys the best of luck if you're bringing someone high maintenance with you. I really, really hope it works out, and I hope that you just end up having a fantastic time together. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If any of the rest of you have any tips or tricks or suggestions for bringing high maintenance people with you, let us know in the comments below. And like I said, I have another video about relationship survival, which probably applies quite well to people bringing high maintenance people with them. So yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck, and if you see me at Burning Man this year, feel free to come and say hi to me. Bye guys.